I'll be reading from Genesis chapter 6, verses 5 through 8. The Lord saw that the wickedness of humankind was great in the earth, and that every inclination of the thoughts of their hearts was only evil continually. And the Lord was sorry that he had made humankind on the earth, and it grieved him to his heart. So the Lord said, I will blot out from the earth the human beings I have created, people together with the animals and creeping things and birds of the air, for I am sorry that I have made them. But Noah found favor in the sight of the Lord. From Genesis chapter 7, verses 1 through 4. Then the Lord said to Noah, Go into the ark, you and all your household, for I have seen that you alone are righteous before me in this generation. Take with you 7 pairs of all clean animals, the male and its mate, and a pair of the animals that are not clean, the male and its mate, and 7 pairs of the birds of the air, also male and female, to keep their kind alive on the face of all the earth. For in 7 days I will send rain on the earth for 40 days and 40 nights. And every living thing that I have made I will blot out from the face of the ground. From Genesis chapter 9, verses 12 through 15. God said, This is the sign of the covenant that I have made between me and you and every living creature that is with you. For all future generations, I have set my bow in the clouds, and it shall be a sign of the covenant between me and the earth. When I bring clouds over the earth and the bow is seen in the clouds, I will remember my covenant, that it is between me and you and every living creature of all flesh, and the waters shall never again become flood to destroy all the flesh.
Well, grace and peace be with you from our Lord Jesus Christ as we consider the story of Noah and the ark for our times. This is Creation Care Sunday, and our message is entitled Called to Care for Creation. In the 1890s, 100 European starlings were released into New York Central Park so that all the birds in Shakespeare's works could be observed there. Shakespeare, of course, having lived in England. And it required no permits or environmental impact statements or assessments, but I sure wish it had. Because over the past 130 years, European starling flocks have spread across North America. In fact, there's an estimated 200 million European starlings, these bluish, blackish, brownish birds. I think that's what those are. And they're permanent residents of the lower 48, of parts of Alaska and Canada. They have been out competing native North American birds for food and habitat. And how did that initial shipment of European birds arrive on our shores here? No, they weren't blown off course one day. They came by boat across the Atlantic, deliberately imported and set loose. Now, the story goes that ravens and doves also traveled over deep waters on Noah's Ark before they were let loose upon the new land. And when the floodwaters receded, Noah released a raven, known to be a very intelligent and resourceful bird. But it didn't come back. And so Noah sent out a dove, which after a while returned with an olive branch in its beak, a sure sign that dry land had appeared and that trees had survived the deluge, so that it was safe to disembark upon the earth again. Now, because of all the animals, Noah's Ark is a favorite of children, and it's presented like a G-rated story, but the unvarnished version in Genesis should carry an R rating for disturbing and violent content. Though it has a happy ending with the rainbow arcing over the frolicking animals, it opens with these words. The Lord saw that the wickedness of humans was great in the earth, and that every inclination of the thoughts of their hearts was only evil continually. And the Lord was sorry that he had made humans on the earth, and it grieved him to his heart. So the Lord said, I will blot out from the earth the humans I have created, people together with animals and creeping things and the birds of the air, for I am sorry that I have made them. Ugh, that doesn't quite correspond with a happy picture, does it? Now, the animals aren't to blame for the evil running amok in the world. And yet they quickly become the collateral damage caught up in the destruction of those irredeemable humans. Just as tens of thousands of women and men, children and infants in Gaza and Ukraine and Sudan have lost their lives, their homes, their businesses, as warring nations and factions try to eradicate their sworn enemies. The biblical account doesn't go into the gory details of drowning animals and people, but that would not be a pretty picture, would it? There is, of course, one human and his extended family, along with lots of pairs of animals, who escaped this global catastrophe as told in Genesis. Noah is deemed righteous, so that he and his spouse and their 3 sons and their daughters-in-law, they are saved aboard the ark with all those critters. Exactly what makes Noah stand out from the wicked and condemned crowd isn't specified in, other than that he walked with God. Now, Noah is obedient to that odd divine orders to construct a fantastically huge boat nowhere near any body of water, and to be ready to set sail when the floods come. So Noah and Sons boat builders get to work following the divine blueprints. They round up and load up 7 pairs of clean animals and birds, and 1 pair of each of the other animals, the unclean ones, you know. I don't know if giraffes counted or not. Is that a clean animal or an unclean? I don't know. Not really specified too much in the Bible. But it's so that life on earth can be saved. Well, this incredible story of a second creation isn't about Noah, however. It's about God and God's authority and prerogative. God is the central character. God is the one who judges that all flesh has been corrupted. God is the one who decides to blot them all out. God is the one who says, I'm going to start afresh with selected seed stock to repopulate the world. God causes the waters above and below to pour out, and recreating that deep waters of chaos that we've heard about in the first story of creation. And then God stops the rain and allows the waters to recede. And God hangs up his war bow, the rainbow, in the clouds, and promises never again to flood everyone out. In this story, God judges, God punishes, and then God repents and God recreates. And yet, in the end, learns the sad lesson that even a divine deluge cannot permanently eliminate evil from human nature and human behavior. God has to settle for making a new covenant with creation and staying in relationship with humanity in hopes of changing their ways by some other means. It's kind of a draw, you know? I tried, it worked for a little while, but then Noah and Sons kind of go back to the way things were. On Facebook, I've seen a post that goes like this. It shows a picture sort of like this, and it has the caption, "A world without pollinators." Butterflies, bees, things that pollinate plants. And then maybe you've seen the next thing says, a world without trees. And finally, it shows a picture with the caption, a world without humans. Now, some might react and put a big heart emoji on that post. But for those of us who believe in the goodness of God, as well as God's ongoing engagement with the world, with creation, I think that it should get a sad face, or at best a puzzled face emoji. Would the world really be better off without humans? For better or for worse, we humans are part of this world, sharing the physical flesh of creation, but also sharing in God's image. Though often we forget our connection to God's good creation and our God-given responsibility to keep the earth. If things were bad in Noah's time, they certainly have gotten worse in ours, haven't they? We humans have initiated what some geologists are calling the Anthropocene, meaning that our technology has as great an impact upon the Earth planet as the asteroid which wiped out the dinosaurs 65 million years ago. Ouch! Our rapid production of greenhouse gases such as carbon dioxide and the rising releases of short-term acting methane, which is 80 times more potent than carbon dioxide and trapping heat, are causing the stable climate which has been the basis of our agricultural economy for the past 10,000 years. And it's becoming unstable, causing more frequent flooding events and stronger storms, longer lasting droughts, and hotter heat waves. Yeah, all that stuff has happened in the past, but it's happening more frequently now. The atmosphere around our planet hasn't had this much carbon dioxide in it since 2 million years ago, when our ancient ancestors were first chasing wild game across the African plains. Today, the ice sheets in Greenland and Antarctica are melting faster and faster every year, and rising sea levels are likely to drown Florida and coastal cities within the lifetime of our children and grandchildren. I'm not making this up. This is coming from the scientists that study the trends. It's gotten worse than they predicted 30 years ago. And I haven't even mentioned war and famine and injustice and waste and pollution, which our modern wickedness and greed and lust and hatred have unleashed upon life on earth, causing populations of birds and wild animals and fish into steep decline in just the past few decades. Where is an ark for the animals when you need one? Now, lest everyone rush off in despair to a private island or an underground bunker or some distant planet, we humans have a critical role to play in restoring our world. Now, if you haven't read it yet, where did I put it? Here it is. If you haven't read it yet, I highly recommend Braiding Sweetgrass by Robin Wall Kimmerer. She is a mother, she is a biologist, and she is a Native American woman. She's connected to her people and their traditions and their respect for creation. You see, she says people can give a helping hand to nature to heal itself. I mean, after all, Native Americans here on this continent took care of it, of the waters and the land and the forests and the fields and the birds and the animals for thousands of years before many of our ancestors arrived on these shores. Robin's basic message is that indigenous values and perspectives are essential to restore the land, which in turn restores us. Now, contrary to the meme on social media that says that the planet would be better off without us, indigenous history and traditions, as well as God through the pages of the Bible, tell us that we humans are called to care for creation. When we study and listen to the forests and the fields and the seas and the skies, we learn to live in harmony with humility and respect and gratitude in our hearts. Humility and gratitude are so important. 60 years ago, our national symbol, the bald eagle, was facing extinction. Just 60 years ago. The petrochemical DDT, widely used to control insect pests, was causing eggshells of raptors like bald eagles to thin out. So the weight of the adult animals incubating the eggs on the nest instead would crush them and kill the babies developing there. However, we became aware of this problem. We changed our ways. We banned DDT production and usage, and it gave the eagles a chance to recover. They are now so numerous that they are no longer listed on the endangered species list. They've been taken off. Whooping cranes, California condors, American bison, the black-footed ferret are other species that have come back from the brink of extinction because we humans have intervened finally to save them. In fact, they just cloned a black-footed ferret that had been, had the remains from 30 years ago, and they were able to clone it because they want to introduce more genetic diversity into the population. Now, it's true, other animals are still in decline and need to be listed and protected. Tropical and temperate forests are still being clear-cut. Fish and sharks are being overcaught in the oceans, and habitats are being polluted with plastics. And yet, we can act to stop the destruction and restore nature's balance. We can help create a future in which we want to live in and for our children to live in. It is possible to protect existing wild habitats, old-growth forests, and threatened species, and restore natural habitats and endangered animals. It's not just possible, it's part of our mission as the church, as believers in a God who loves us and loves all of creation. Maybe even starlings, although it's hard for me to quite understand that, but hey, in their place. That's the way I feel about mosquitoes, in your place, not in my house. People of faith, as well as others, have and are acting to restore lands and waters. We have and are planting trees and returning native plants and animals. We have and are setting aside land for parks and reserves. Did you catch the North Dakota Game and Fish little blurb for the week about the sage grouse and how there's fewer this year than there was last year on there strutting around? I mean, just amazing little animals, and they're trying to import some from Wyoming or somewhere. But we need to do more, and it is possible to do that. More needs to be done by individuals, by governments, by corporations, but it is possible to change our ways and modify our systems and give nature room to work its restorative and resilient powers. We humans are unique in God's creation. We are the only creatures that we are aware of who can express praise to God for the complexity of life on earth and the wonder of the universe beyond. That's our ability. Like Noah, we have the ability to cooperate with God, to restore God's good gift of life upon this planet. Like the ark, we can save other creatures from the threat of extinction if we make the effort now to change direction, to curb our consumption, and to handle the waste products of our culture better. In the vastness of our solar system and outer space, we know that only this one planet we call Earth can support and sustain life. So we must embrace our calling to care better for this, our home, because it's God's crown jewel in creation. God has endowed nature with the resilient power to heal itself, to regrow forests that were once cut down, to reproduce endangered species, to reclaim wastelands from pollution and erosion. We only need to embrace our calling and be obedient to God's command to care for this wonderful and amazing and unique garden of life. And our reward will be the joy of living here and now and giving hope to future generations.